In the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., Catholic bishops pledge to take on President Obama and his anti-Christian persecution. I'm Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action. Joining me in studio is Shawn Akers, Vice President of Middle Eastern Affairs with Liberty Counsel. Shawn, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has taken a bold stand for religious freedom. This is according to the Weekly Standard, and has issued a statement titled "Our First Most Cherished Liberty." The bishops have called for the repeal of the contraception and abortifacient coverage mandate that the Department of Health and Human Services put out, compelling Catholics, Christian organizations around the country to violate their sincerely held religious beliefs and provide services, abortion services and contraceptive services to employees and to those who of these Christian and Catholic organizations, despite the fact that this is all a violation of the First Amendment. Clearly, the bishops have a clarified position that sets up a dramatic confrontation with the Obama administration and would, if the bishops prevail, help preserve religious liberty here in America. They're saying, President Obama, no, we will not comply with this unconstitutional, immoral mandate. And again, in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., they're vowing civil disobedience. And I say good for them.
You know, Matt, you're a student of history. When we go back and read things like the Declaration of Independence, the Declaration of Independence has a bill of particulars, a bill of gripes against England that says all of these things that England's making us do that we consider to be tyranny. You know, it's very sobering to stop and compare what this administration is requiring people to do in the United States today compared to the things in that Bill of Particulars in the Declaration of Independence. You just can't imagine the idea, the very notion that the federal government of the United States of America would require abortion procedures by those who hold that to be the taking of human life. It's a great thing that this is a wonderful example of nonviolent protest of a group of people that are following in the steps of Martin Luther King Jr. and saying, you know what, that's wrong and we're not going to do it.
Well, and what is fantastic about this, our first most cherished liberty document that the Catholic bishops have put out, is not only does it implicitly cites Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter to the Birmingham jail, but it also makes the very valid point that this overreach by the Department of Health and Human Services and President Obama, it's much more than just an attack on Catholic organizations, Christian organizations. It's an attack on individual liberty and the individual faith, because it would also require business owners, say the owner of a Bible bookstore, to comply, to violate their own conscience and to provide these immoral, what many view as immoral, certainly with contraception, that's the Catholic doctrine, and certainly with abortifacients, all Christianity, true Christianity, biblical Christianity, hold abortion to be a mortal sin. So this mandate would force small business owners, individuals, to violate their conscience. So the Catholic bishops, in their statement, they said it's not enough. Not only are we standing against this as Catholic organizations, but we are standing up in defense of individual liberty. And that's interesting, because I've made the point multiple times that with stuff like this, the Constitution doesn't just apply to a religious organization. And the Obama administration doesn't have the authority to grant an exemption to an unconstitutional mandate. The Constitution applies to the individual First Amendment rights. So this mandate by the Obama administration has to go. It has to be scrapped completely out the door, or we will see mass civil disobedience on this, because if you are going to remain faithful to your Christian beliefs, you cannot comply with this mandate.
And we need to point out, Matt, that even on a larger scale, while I'm not at all opposed to the freedom of conscience idea, the fact is they're not. This administration's not forcing you just to violate your conscience. It's forcing you to violate the laws of nature and nature's God.
That's right.
It's forcing you to participate either explicitly or implicitly in the taking of human life. This is this is something that's really right out of science fiction novels as far as anything that the founders would have expected to take place in the United States of America. We're just there. And I'll tell you, you mentioned the Constitution. We need to remember that the Constitution, now, and there was a great debate over whether to include a Bill of Rights just for reasons exactly like this, that they said that if we include a Bill of Rights, some idiot is going to come along later and say those are all the rights that you have. But the fact is that the Constitution's been turned entirely on its head, Matt. The Constitution was not a document written by the government to the people. There's no such thing in this sense as constitutional rights. The Constitution doesn't create any rights. The Constitution was a document drafted by we the people that said to the government, here's the only things that you can do. And if you can't find it in this document where we granted you the authority to do it, you can't do it. The Bill of Rights was an attempt to clarify. Now, just in case you didn't get it from the original document, we're going to put in 10 amendments that remind you these things are sacrosanct. You shall not touch them. But you see that it's been turned exactly on its head, and it's treated exactly the way that some feared that it would be. That one, the government gave you constitutional rights through the Constitution, and two, you only have the rights that the government gave you. These are ridiculous notions, and now they're leading to literally the loss of unborn life.
Well, and Shawn, and you make a great point. This is much more than just a violation of conscience. I think what's analogous to this is we know that one of the tactics of Muslim terrorists is that they will go into a village. We've seen it in the Sudan and elsewhere. They will take individuals, they will hold a gun or a machete to them and say, see that family member of yours, that uncle, that individual, you must kill them or I'm going to kill the rest of your family. This mandate does that. It says to the Catholic bishops, it says to the individual Christian, you have no choice. You must embrace our postmodern secularist worldview that says that life is meaningless and the unborn child has no value, and you must become complicit in abortion homicide. You must underwrite the slaughter of innocent human beings, or you will be penalized under the full weight of government.
It's saying you can believe whatever you want, but you're going to do what I tell you to.
You're going to do what I say. But that's a dramatic comparison, but that there is no difference. We're talking life and death, and we're talking about the government forcing you to become complicit in abortion homicide. That is no different than the Muslim terrorist going into the village, holding the gun to your head and saying, kill your family member or you will suffer the full weight of our tyranny. This is all tyranny. This president is engaging in tyranny. It's counter-constitutional. It's unconstitutional. And to the credit of the Catholic bishops, they are drawing a line in the sand and saying, no, we will not comply. And I encourage the larger Christian church, the evangelical movement, to get behind them and in solidarity say, we join with you, we will not comply.
Absolutely. This is one of the most American forms of leadership in existence. These bishops have stood up. They've made a stand publicly. They're not hiding what they're doing. They're saying outright and open that we're going to be civilly disobedient in this particular instance. It's justified. They're willing to pay the price, and it's something that we should support them in.
Well, folks, progressives, secular socialists like Barack Obama are anything if not predictable, and they predictably overplay their hand. They have a history of this, and this president, the Department of Health and Human Services, is overplaying its hand here, and the backlash has been profound. This is a line in the sand, and we at Liberty Counsel vow to stand our ground for life, for liberty, for the First Amendment, and stand against this attempt by the Obama administration to force individuals and Christian and Catholic organizations to become complicit in abortion homicide. We will not stand for it, and we ask that you stand with us against this illegal, unconstitutional abortion mandate. To find out how you can become part of the Liberty Counsel team, go to lc.org or give us a call, 1-800-671-1776. Stand with us as we stand for life.